Pat Forde, Sports Illustrated senior writer, looking good, joining us on the program. Pat, good morning. How's morale?
Hanging in there, Dan. Hanging in
Uh,
there.
uh,
Groundhog Day over and over. If my hair grows any longer, I'm going to be an honorary almond brother here pretty soon.
Ooh,
But
ooh.
we're making
All right, simple question. Who runs college football?
it. The oligarchy of the Power Five conference commissioners. So basically, a group of five guys runs the sport. There's nobody at the NCAA that seriously matters. And you can decide out of those five who the most important are. Probably Greg Sankey of the SEC and Kevin Warren of the Big Ten. And Kevin Warren's brand new.
What role does ESPN play in all of this?
Oh, they certainly have a role, no doubt about it. A big role. I think that they helped kind of push towards the creation of the playoff, and they will no doubt have a say in what happens this season. If we have a season, when we have a season, what it looks like, how long it lasts, and who's involved in the postseason.
I know that we want answers for something that's supposed to take place in a couple of months, and we can't come up with answers. But it feels like, if we set an arbitrary date and then we don't adhere to that, then all of a sudden, there's doom and gloom here. At what point do you say, if we don't have something that resembles football practice by this date, then the season's in jeopardy?
I think that you can go as long as August 1st before players are on campus and practicing. That would be the latest, I would say, for an on-time, on-schedule season. It could be more mid-July. People I've talked to, commissioners, ADs, basically June 1, they want to have a pretty good idea. June 15, they want to have a better idea. July 1, probably drop dead as far as yes or no, we're going to play starting August 29th/Labor Day weekend.
I was told by a source a couple of days ago that what you're probably going to look at, and this changes every day, but you'd have 10 games that you would play. 9 would be in the conference. And if you played a game outside the conference, Ohio State would play Ohio University, or it'd be a bus trip. You would not. But he said, look, the Pac-12 is the one that's really in trouble here because of what's going on in the state. And, you're all the way up in Washington, you're in Oregon, you're in Arizona. That's going to make it pretty tough. What do you make of those thoughts?
Yeah, I think that both are viable thoughts for sure. I think that they're looking definitely at models for a shortened season, conference heavy. As you said, maybe a non-conference game. They're going to definitely be trying to curtail expenses. The one thing that the Pac-12 obviously is a whole different situation right now. But even within conferences, Dan, in the ACC, Clemson may say, hey, let's go. Boston College may be saying, wait a minute.
Yeah.
In the Big Ten, Iowa may be saying, let's play. Rutgers is saying, we can't.
Yeah.
So this is going to be fascinating to me. First of all, conference by conference. And is this the beginning of the long discussed prophesied schism of college football where a powerful group goes one way and everybody else goes the other, or not? Is it where the SEC says we're playing? The Big Ten says we're not sure whether we're playing. The Pac-12 says no, we're not. I think that this could open up some real fractures within the game that we've already seen, at least talked about for many years.
Yeah, I think those are great points. And I wonder if let's say the SEC says we're voting, we're playing. Vanderbilt says we can't do that. And does the SEC say, all right, hey, have a nice offseason here. We're going to play football. Does the Big Ten say to Northwestern or Rutgers, sorry, guys, sorry you can't play? Like, are we going to get to that point where, it's almost infighting in the own conference?
Oh, I think that the conferences will do everything they can to avoid that, especially really SEC, Big Ten. The SEC is going back to Mike Slive. One of the hallmarks of his tenure was solidarity. We do everything together. We stay in lockstep. We're in agreement on big issues, even if we're not really. That's the pub what we're going to present. So they'll try to avoid it. But yes, could it come to that? Absolutely. And I think that then you're looking at the event eventually is, well, why is Vanderbilt in our conference anyway? They don't really seem to fit here. Or, why did we bring Rutgers into the Big Ten? What have they done exactly? So I think this opens up a big philosophical can of worms going back to conference allegiance and alliances, some of these that are decades or almost a century old. I think people in the Big 12 have been sitting around, if you're in the state of Texas, saying, Iowa State, Kansas State, Really? Do we need you? So these discussions could be had as we go along.
He's Pat Forde from Sports Illustrated, senior writer, covers not only college football but basketball as well. And that's another thing when you start to look at the schedule, if it's moved back, and let's say we're playing football in the spring, do you have some of these first-round draft picks who look at this the way Christian McCaffrey looked at a bowl game and said, or Nick Bosa said, I'm going to shut it down here. Like, I wonder how far is too far if you're – I don't know if Trevor Lawrence would do this, but I'm sure he'd have advisors to say, let's look at this and make a educated guess or decision.
Sure, no doubt about it. Look, Trevor Lawrence, my experience around him is he's a competitor. He's a team guy. He loves Clemson. He would love to play, but there could very well be some quote unquote cooler heads that would step in and say, look, son, you've got an $80 million future sitting out there when the NFL draft happens, and then you're going to go immediately into a training camp, into a rookie training camp, and then a full-scale training camp. You want to be playing college football in the spring, going right up into that? What if you get hurt? What if something else happens? What if you're dead fatigued in the middle of the 2021 season in the NFL because you played a late college football season? So I think there's no doubt that those conversations would be had. And I think a lot of players would look askance at the spring schedule, at least the ones that are convinced they have a big dollar NFL future.
If I said you had to bet a week's pay if we have football coming up Labor Day weekend?
I would bet against at the moment. Since my week's paying very much, it wouldn't be a big loss. But I think that, the hedge would be, if we do have it, we're going to have it with few or no fans. If you can give me that bet, I would take that. Otherwise, I would say the more likely, if we want to be sure we're playing football, I think it's probably more likely it's October 1st.
All right, I'll leave you with this. I know you love talking about Rick Pitino, no longer at Louisville, but the remnants are still there. NCAA knocked on the door again at Louisville. Here's Rick Pitino at Iona. Give us sort of the Cliff Notes version of what's happening and what could happen in this situation.
Yeah, Louisville got notice of allegations this week from the NCAA for not the strippers and hooker scandal, the one after the scandal after that.
Oh, this is where they pay to recruit $100,000, right?
Yes, the $100,000 agreement for Brian Bowen, some other payments for other people. So they got a one level one violation allegation, which is the most serious, 3 level twos. Pitino, I thought, was very fortunate to only get a level 2 allegation against him, but it's still a serious deal. That would preclude him. He would not be subject to a show cause penalty, which could take him out of things for a longer period of time, but he could be hit with up to a half-season suspension at Iona whenever this thing grinds through the NCAA process, which could be a year from now. So Pitino not off the hook, but probably got away a little bit lighter than some people expected. Louisville, on the other hand, could still get hammered. So he could be coaching theoretically in a postseason that Louisville is banned from.
But I wonder if the NCAA looks at Louisville, they decided to clean house, and are they a little more lenient on Louisville because Louisville took the right steps to get these people out of those positions?
Yeah, this is one of the more interesting cases, I think, in a while, Dan, for that reason, because Louisville got rid of everybody at a time when everybody else that was involved in the federal corruption probe got rid of nobody. Bill Self stayed. Sean Miller stayed. Will Wade stayed. Bruce Pearl stayed. Pitino was gone in a day. Tom Jurich, the AD, was gone in a short amount of time. The president of the school left. The board of trustees was remade. So they did a lot of things there. Now, the cynic among us may point out, well, yeah, they didn't do anything after the first scandal. They waited till the second one before they got rid of everybody. So it's going to be an interesting balancing act, I think, for the NCAA to decide, do we smash a school that got rid of everyone, or do we give them credit for good behavior or reformed behavior?
Pat, great to talk to you as always. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Stay healthy.
That's Pat Forde, Sports Illustrated senior writer.